The truth will set you free, but first it will make you miserable. It's a brutal reality most people would rather ignore. The world thrives on illusions, convenient lies, sugar-coated narratives, and an almost desperate clinging to comfort zones. But here's the kicker: while the majority dodge life's harsh truths, SIGMAS dive headfirst into them. Did you know that a study once revealed 80% of people admit to lying at least once a day? Now imagine navigating a world where deception is the norm and truth-tellers are the outcasts. SIGMAS don't just accept this, they live it unapologetically. Brace yourself, because these aren't the truths you'll hear over coffee or in some motivational pep talk. They're raw, uncomfortable, and maybe even a little funny, like realizing the soulmate who ghosted you was just bad at replying to texts. But if you're ready for the kind of clarity that stings before it liberates, this is your invitation to see the world through Sigma eyes. Number one, success isolates you. The higher you climb, the lonelier it gets. That's the harsh reality Sigmas not only understand, but accept with open arms. Success isn't the glowing Instagram reel people fantasize about. It's a battlefield. It strips away illusions, exposes fake friendships, and forces you to stand in your own truth. Most people want to cheer for you until your wins remind them of their own stagnation. That's when the smiles turn into forced congratulations, or worse, radio silence. Sigmas know that success creates distance, not just physically, but emotionally. When you're focused on growth, you can't hang out in the same places or entertain the same small talk. Suddenly, your ambition makes others uncomfortable, and you find yourself in a room of one, not because you pushed people away, but because they chose to retreat. It's not glamorous, and it's certainly not the feel-good story society sells. But here's the twist: Sigmas don't see this as a curse. To them, isolation is a filter, removing noise and distractions so they can double down on their goals. They don't crave validation because they've learned the brutal truth: most of it is empty anyway. Sigmas thrive in this solitude, not because they enjoy being lonely, but because they know that real connection is rare and should never be compromised for the sake of appearances. What others see as isolation, Sigmas view as freedom. Freedom from the need to explain themselves, justify their ambition, or lower their standards to fit in. And that's why they keep climbing, even when the air gets thin and the crowd disappears, because at the top there's clarity. It's not about being better than anyone else. It's about knowing they chose the harder path and survived. And that's a truth most people aren't ready to accept. Number two, mediocrity is celebrated. Mediocrity isn't just tolerated, it's celebrated. Sigmas see this everywhere, and it's both infuriating and enlightening. Society loves the safe, the predictable, and the unthreatening. Being average doesn't ruffle feathers, doesn't challenge norms, and definitely doesn't make people uncomfortable. That's why those who dare to aim higher, think differently, or carve their own path are often met with resistance rather than applause. Sigmas understand that the world is built to reward conformity. Blend in, follow the script, and you'll be patted on the back. But stand out. That's a whole different story. When you refuse to settle, people don't see ambition, they see arrogance. When you question the status quo, they don't hear curiosity, they hear criticism. Sigmas realize this isn't because they're doing something wrong, but because most people are too afraid to confront their own potential. It's easier to label someone as too much than to admit you're not doing enough. This is why Sigmas often keep their moves quiet. They don't need the approval of a crowd that celebrates mediocrity while secretly resenting greatness. They've learned that seeking validation from the masses is a trap. Mediocre minds won't understand extraordinary vision, and that's okay. Sigmas don't create to be understood, they create because they're driven. The irony is, the same people who dismiss Sigmas' ambitions are the first to turn around and say, "I knew them back when," the moment success arrives. Sigmas don't wait for the applause because they know it's fickle. They focus on the work, the purpose, and the challenge. Mediocrity might be the easy choice for most, but Sigmas would rather be misunderstood and exceptional than celebrated for playing it safe. Number three, kindness is mistaken for weakness. Trust is the rarest currency in the world, and Sigmas know it better than anyone. They've learned the hard way that not everyone who smiles at you has your best interests at heart. In a world where betrayal often wears a friendly mask, Sigmas are hyper-aware of how easily people manipulate trust for their own gain. This isn't paranoia, it's survival. They've seen it, felt it, and have the emotional scars to prove it. For Sigmas, Trust isn't handed out freely. It's earned over time. While others might rush into connections blinded by charm or shared interests, SIGMAS take their time. They observe, listen, and test the waters before they let anyone into their inner circle. This cautious approach might come off as cold or detached, but it's far from that. It's a defense mechanism against a world that often values convenience over loyalty. The truth is, SIGMAS don't have the luxury of pretending. They've been blindsided before by friends who weren't really friends, by promises that were empty, and by alliances that shattered at the first sign of trouble. That's why they don't give second chances lightly. Forgiveness may be free, but trust, that comes with a price, and once it's broken, rebuilding it is almost impossible. This doesn't mean SIGMAS are closed off or unapproachable. When they trust, they do it fully, deeply, and with unwavering loyalty. But they know the stakes. Betrayal doesn't just sting, it changes you, and SIGMAS have no interest in repeating the same lessons twice. Their guarded nature isn't about keeping people out, it's about protecting the peace they've worked so hard to create. Trust, to a SIGMA, is sacred, and they refuse to waste it on anyone who doesn't value it the same way. Number 4, time reveals everyone's true nature. Time reveals everyone's true nature. No matter how carefully people construct their facades, SIGMAS understand that no one can hide who they truly are forever. They don't rush to judgment or get swept away by first impressions, knowing that actions over time always speak louder than words. While most people are quick to trust or give others the benefit of the doubt, SIGMAS prefer to let time do the heavy lifting. This awareness allows them to remain calm and patient, even in the face of charming manipulators or overly eager acquaintances. They don't get flustered by sweet words or exaggerated promises because they know consistency is the ultimate test of authenticity. SIGMAS observe quietly, taking mental notes as the weeks and months pass. Who shows up when it matters? Who falls silent when things get tough? These are the questions they answer not by asking, but by waiting. The beauty of this approach is that it keeps them grounded and unbothered by pretenses. SIGMAS don't feel the need to call out every fake person or expose every hidden agenda. Instead, they let time pull back the curtain. People who are genuine will remain, while those who are not will eventually reveal their true colors. It's a process that requires patience, but SIGMAS are masters of playing the long game. By trusting time to unveil the truth, SIGMAS save themselves from unnecessary drama and heartbreak. They don't need to dig for dirt or overanalyze behavior. They simply allow life to unfold. And when the dust settles, they're left surrounded by only those who have proven their worth through actions, not words. For a SIGMA, this is the ultimate peace of mind. Number 5, you can't save everyone. You can't save everyone, and SIGMAs have come to terms with this harsh truth. They understand that no matter how deeply they care or how much they try to lift someone out of their struggles, there are people who will remain stuck in their misery. It's not a question of effort, it's a matter of willingness. SIGMAs have seen firsthand how some individuals prefer the comfort of their pain to the uncertainty of change. They cling to their habits, their complaints, and their negative patterns because it feels safer, even if it's destructive. For a SIGMA, watching someone they care about self-sabotage is one of the hardest things to witness. They naturally want to step in, offer solutions, or use their insight to guide that person towards growth. But they've learned that true change can only come from within. They can't force someone to see the light, and they know that no matter how much they wish it, their determination alone will not be enough to rescue someone who isn't ready to help themselves. Letting go isn't easy. It's not a matter of abandoning people, but accepting that some relationships are not meant to be saved. It's a painful realization that holding on can become toxic, draining energy that could be spent nurturing their own growth and peace. SIGMAs choose to channel their focus on what they can control, their own path, development, and emotional well-being. They understand that by doing so, they're setting an example that might one day inspire those still trapped in their own cycles to find their way out. In the end, SIGMAs know that the most compassionate thing they can do for others who refuse to change is to let them be and continue on their own journey. It's a lesson in acceptance, in knowing that trying to save everyone will only leave them empty. Instead, they focus on their own growth, hoping that one day those who are ready will come looking for the light they've found. Number 6, popularity is a trap. Popularity is a trap, and Sigmas know it better than anyone. To chase approval is to sell pieces of yourself for fleeting validation, and Sigmas have no interest in that kind of transaction. They understand the unspoken rules of popularity. Smile when you don't mean it, agree when you don't care, and suppress anything that makes you stand out too much. It's exhausting, fake, and most importantly, it comes at the cost of your authenticity. Sigmas reject the idea that being liked is a measure of value. They don't need a crowd to feel worthy because their confidence comes from within, not from external praise. They've seen how the pursuit of popularity forces people to dilute themselves, toning down their quirks, ideas, and individuality just to blend in. To a Sigma, that's the ultimate betrayal, trading your uniqueness for shallow applause. This is why they're perfectly content standing outside the circle. While others bend over backward to fit into societal molds, Sigmas stand firm in who they are. They'd rather be misunderstood, even judged, than compromise their principles to gain approval. Being real, even if it means standing alone, feels infinitely better than being surrounded by people who only like the version of you that caters to them. The irony is, Sigmas often attract respect precisely because they refuse to chase it. Their independence and authenticity make them magnetic, even to those who don't fully understand them. But Sigmas don't do it for attention, they do it for themselves. They've realized that the applause of the many is meaningless if it comes at the cost of their truth. Popularity may be a shiny trophy for some, but to Sigmas it's nothing more than a hollow, short-lived game they have no interest in playing. Number 7, happiness is your own responsibility. Happiness is your own responsibility, and Sigmas live by this truth. They've discarded the idea that happiness will magically appear when circumstances change or when someone else steps in to fix things. They know waiting for the perfect moment, person, or opportunity is a losing game. Life doesn't owe anyone happiness, and Sigmas refuse to outsource theirs to external factors. They've learned, sometimes painfully, that no one is coming to save them. People are often too busy chasing their own sense of fulfillment, leaving little room to rescue anyone else. Instead of wallowing in this realization, Sigmas take it as a call to action. They turn inward, understanding that joy isn't something handed to you, it's something you create. They focus on what they can control, their mindset, actions, and the small, meaningful choices that add up over time. This perspective makes them fiercely independent. They don't wait for a relationship, a promotion, or some far-off dream to grant them happiness. They find it in everyday moments, in their passions, in quiet solitude, and in the satisfaction of knowing they're building a life true to themselves. Sigmas have mastered the art of finding joy in simplicity while still striving for their larger goals. They're also unapologetic about protecting their peace. If someone or something threatens their sense of happiness, they won't hesitate to step away. This isn't selfishness, it's self-respect. Sigmas understand that they can't pour from an empty cup, so they prioritize their well-being unapologetically. Happiness, for a Sigma, isn't about having it all. It's about knowing you're enough, owning your power, and refusing to let anyone else dictate your emotional landscape. It's an inside job, and they're committed to doing the work. Number 8, honesty costs relationships. Honesty costs relationships, and Sigmas are willing to pay that price. They understand that truth is a double-edged sword, necessary for growth, but often too sharp for many to handle. In a world where people crave validation over authenticity, Sigmas refuse to dilute their words to make others feel comfortable. They speak their minds not to hurt, but because they value clarity over pretense. However, they know this comes with consequences. Being brutally honest can alienate people. Many prefer the comfort of sugar-coated lies over the sting of truth. When Sigmas point out uncomfortable realities or challenge shallow thinking, it disrupts the status quo. Some see this as arrogance or insensitivity, but for Sigmas, it's about integrity. They believe it's better to risk losing a connection than to betray their own principles by staying silent or pretending to agree. This approach isn't for everyone, and Sigmas know it. They've seen friendships fade and relationships crumble because honesty, no matter how well-intentioned, can feel threatening. but they've also seen how lies and half-truths poison connections over time. For Sigmas, the temporary pain of truth is far better than the long-term damage of deceit. They don't wield honesty recklessly, though. Sigmas are thoughtful in their delivery, aiming to be constructive rather than cruel. Still, they won't sugarcoat their perspective just to keep someone around. If a relationship can't survive honesty, they believe it wasn't worth having in the first place. Sigmas live with the understanding that truth weeds out the insincere, leaving behind only those who value authenticity as much as they do. Losing people hurts, but losing themselves by playing along with lies would hurt far more. For a Sigma, the clarity honesty brings is always worth the cost. Number 9, freedom comes at a cost. Freedom comes at a cost, and Sigmas know this all too well. True independence is not the glossy, effortless ideal many imagine. It's a path riddled with challenges that demand relentless self-reliance. While most people cling to the safety of societal norms, Sigmas choose to carve their own way, fully aware of the burdens that come with that choice. Breaking free from expectations means letting go of the comforting illusion of security. It's turning away from the scripted life that offers clear steps and guaranteed applause. Sigmas know that walking their own path means no one will hold their hand when things get tough, and no one will cheer when they succeed, because most people are too busy judging what they don't understand. The freedom they fight for isn't handed to them, it's earned through sheer willpower, sacrifice, and an unshakable belief in their vision. But independence has its dark side. It's lonely at times because few people truly understand the courage it takes to reject conformity. Sigmas often find themselves standing alone, shouldering responsibilities that others would happily offload onto a system or a group. The unpredictability of their journey means they face risks most wouldn't dare take. Financial instability, social alienation, and the constant pressure of making decisions without a safety net. Despite all this, Sigmas embrace the weight of freedom because the alternative, living on someone else's terms, is unbearable. They'd rather struggle in their authenticity than thrive in a cage of compromise. To them, the exhaustion, unpredictability, and loneliness are small prices to pay for the ability to live life on their own terms. Freedom isn't glamorous, but for a Sigma, it's the only thing worth fighting for, no matter how heavy the burden becomes. Number 10, people value convenience over loyalty. People value convenience over loyalty, and Sigmas have learned to accept this truth without bitterness. Most people will stay in your life as long as it's easy and convenient for them, as long as the relationship serves their needs or benefits their personal agenda. When the going gets tough or the situation becomes inconvenient, they're quick to disappear or distance themselves. Sigmas see this clearly. They know loyalty is often an afterthought, something people will claim but not always practice when it matters most. This realization sharpens their approach to relationships. Sigmas don't invest energy in expecting lifelong loyalty from those who haven't proven it, and they don't waste time trying to hold on to people who are only there when it's easy. Instead, they value authenticity and keep their circles small and meaningful. They understand that true loyalty is rare and shouldn't be given away freely. It has to be earned and proven, not just spoken. For Sigmas, this isn't a cynical outlook. It's a survival strategy. It helps them guard their time and emotional energy, ensuring they're not left empty-handed when people choose convenience over commitment. They've learned to spot the signs of people who are only there for what they can get and cut ties before they get hurt. They know the importance of investing in their own peace and well-being, rather than chasing after fleeting connections that are just fair-weather friendships. For a Sigma, loyalty is sacred, and they don't waste it on those who only value them when it suits their own needs. In a world that thrives on comfort and conformity, Sigmas stand as a testament to the power of truth, independence, and unyielding self-awareness. They embody the harsh realities that most shy away from, not out of cynicism, but out of sheer necessity for growth and authenticity. Their journey isn't easy, and it's not meant to be. They don't seek validation, nor do they play by the rules others insist upon. Instead, they navigate the murky waters of life with a quiet strength that comes from knowing who they are and being unafraid to stand by that. Sigmas understand that true freedom demands sacrifices most people would balk at. The loneliness of walking a path alone, the constant battle between honesty and the comfort of convenience, the understanding that they can't save everyone, and the willingness to carry the weight of their own choices without looking back. But in accepting these harsh truths, they gain something invaluable. Freedom that's not just the absence of restrictions, but the presence of clarity, purpose, and peace that no one can take away. They teach us that happiness isn't handed out. It's forged from within, not bought or borrowed. They remind us that real strength isn't in pretending to be flawless, but in embracing our imperfections and knowing that our worth isn't tied to others' opinions. And above all, they show that while the world may push against their ideals, Sigmas stand resilient because they don't just survive, they thrive in the face of resistance. In a world full of noise and people who bend to fit in, the Sigma is a rare breed, someone who knows what it means to walk their own path, no matter how difficult or lonely it gets. They prove that embracing the harsh truths, facing them head on, and learning to live by them is not just survival. It's the truest form of living. And maybe, just maybe, their way of being serves as a reminder to all of us that the most important truths are the ones we face alone, with courage and resolve. If you found these insights eye-opening and empowering, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join our community. Here, we dive deep into the real, raw truths that most shy away from, exploring what it really means to live authentically and fearlessly. Subscribe and become part of a space where you can embrace the unfiltered, unvarnished truths of life and walk your own path with confidence. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Bye for now and see you in the next video.